Hey guys, Dov here with some more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. We're here today with the High Elves taking on Sadow's Skaven once again, and I've gone with something very different this time. A Vanguard heavy, ranged heavy elf build. We've got 4 Shadow Warriors, 2 Lyrian Reaver Archers, 4 Melee Reavers, a Lithanar, who's currently summoned a decoy, the Regiment of Renown, a Lothern Sea Guard, the Storm Riders, and a Frostheart Phoenix with a High Mage on a Chariot. She's got Fire Convocation and Apotheosis, so immediately I'm going to be running these guys to get back to the rest of my army here. Sadow's Skaven, we've got 3 groups of Rat Ogres, Teeth Breakers, and some more Rattling Guns, plenty of Chaff Infantry with some Gutter Runners with Poison, and Hero Squad of Snitch, Eshin Sorcerer, and an Assassin, so an Eshin-led army certainly, with plenty of gunner runners and so on. So nice and thematic, but immediately I'm going to dive in with my Frostheart Phoenix and the High Mage, just to kind of disrupt and distract. I didn't think that the Phoenix was going to be taken down this quickly, but Sadow's going to focus with both his Rattling Guns, all of his gutter runners as well, and here comes DEATHMASTER Snitch and the Assassin. So probably not the best situation for my Frostheart Phoenix, but the Illyrian Reaver is going to deploy out to the low ground. Shadow Warriors and Reaver Archers just pouring fire into these Rat Ogres. We're able to do a lot of damage here. And yeah, the Phoenix is about to go down. A little bit late for this, but I am going to call in a Fiery Convocation on these Skaven Rat Boys. Oof, makes pretty good contact there and goes all the way up the hill and even clips through a couple of other units. Honestly, probably wasn't the most cost-effective, but still, 66 kills, not too bad. I did lose the Phoenix, though, which is obviously a big problem. That's my sole source of terror, which against the Skaven is very important, but the Reavers were able to continue to kind of disrupt this advance here, and basically the idea is I need to buy as much time as possible for the Shadow Warriors to just unload their ammunition and try and kite the Skaven. The cheaper Skaven infantry I'm not really worried about. The Shadow Warriors can fight them, but I really just don't want to get bogged down as much as possible. The real priority target are these Rat Ogres, right? And the fact that we can kind of pick one off here isolated, use the Reaver's high charge bonus, and the fact that we have a number of units of them to kind of mass charge in here on these monstrous infantry, quick hit and run, pull back, and just keep them away from these Shadow Warriors. We've already used up a good amount of the ammunition there, so we're on a good pace. Meanwhile, the Storm Riders, they cause fear. They have pretty good defensive stats as well, so I don't really mind just kind of leaving them here to fire and fight against whatever units kind of wash up the hill here. Right now they're doing a great job keeping these gutter runners kind of pinned away. Lithanar starting to focus on the DEATHMASTER himself. Unfortunately, I had left him off fire at will from earlier, but yeah, he'll do effective damage over the course of a battle. We're also going to pop that decoy. Looks like actually switch over to fight, shooting at these Rat Ogres. They are an imminent threat to my Shadow Warriors, but the focus fire, and again, this nice kind of ping-ponging rear charge from what remains of my Reaver force, going to be able to finish off those nasty big rodents of unusual size. And now we're going to focus fire on those gutter runners. Meanwhile, in the back line, the Archer Reavers being used to clean up mop-up routing units. Also shooting those Warp Grinders pretty effectively as well. They have pretty low HP, so over here, the decoy doing its job, actually, and getting caught by DEATHMASTER Snitch and his Assassin Squad. But of course, it is a ruse. The real Lithanar is far away up on the hill and going to be running further and further away. Thankfully for me, my High Mage did come back. She got hurt pretty bad by that Hero Squad earlier. I didn't really highlight it, but Apotheosis can keep her healing as well. And, you know, no Skaven units were allocated to chase her off, and I think she's probably fast enough to get away anyway. But regardless, starting to run a little low on ammo of the Shadow Warriors, so I decide it's time to try and take these gutter runners in melee if we can. So the Reavers push through, both the melee and bow Reavers, kind of all unifying, pushing up and getting on these gutter runners here. Of course, because of the poison and the physical resistance, we'll be able to deal with most of the gutter runners, but not all of them. A few of them very critically will survive into the late game here as I sort of forsake them with most of my melee Reavers and kind of mass blob them, which is not the best. Probably should have left a couple of them, you know, back there, but again, you want to take advantage of that high charge bonus as much as you can, so my thought was I'm going to ping pong and then throw them back over. Just didn't quite get to the, you know, throw them back over point. But over here, The Storm Riders finally being routed off, although gotten a pretty decent amount of kills. Yeah, 32 kills, probably not paid for themselves, but again, it's more just about holding with them for a decent amount of time while we finish off the last of the ammo. The Shadow Warriors looks like they have done so. Now they're going to start focus firing on Snitch, hopefully. He doesn't have a whole lot of armor, right? He's only got 30 armor. Does have some physical resistance, but to focus fire of accurate bows especially, like most elves, I would say all elf bows, not the dark elf crossbows, but actual bows are quite accurate, so even shooting like a small hitbox single entity like the Snitch boy here, we should be able to get some effective damage in. The decoy, unfortunately, this time is not really believed, but even still, the Shadow Warriors are mostly out of ammo. In fact, a few units are properly out of ammo, at least one here, so we can path them in and start to just fight in melee. Armor of Darkness, going to put Snitch up to 90 armor, which will obviously help quite a bit. And a lot of my Reavers are being routed off as well, so despite the balance of power lead here, the Skaven absolutely have a chance to come back in this. The Storm Riders did come back from rout. We'll pull them back in just a moment here, but yeah, the Reavers, the lack of missile block chance will come back to kind of haunt me here a little bit. These Gutter Runners is going to be sacrificed. They get the full charge of the Reavers with their 40 charge bonus. Melee Reavers have, what, 24 charge bonus, which is still pretty solid. Meanwhile, over here, the Deathmaster is doing his best to try and finish off whatever he can. He does catch the Chariot Mage with the Deathmaster Sigil here. Is going to be able to get a handful of attacks, but in the meantime, he's also getting shot up by a Lithnar. But yeah, the Rival High Talisman also debuffing the melee attack, so all these Shadow Warriors are down to 0 melee attack as they kind of mob in here and try and finish off these various units. Looks like a Warp Star is going to be cast. Didn't really see it. I don't think it actually connected there, and Deathmaster also using his little bit of spin moves there to deal some anti-infantry damage, but I'm going to have to keep running with the Lithnar. He has quite a bit of ammunition left, and so if I can keep kiting with him and keep the Deathmaster away, I should be able to finish him off just with the ammo of the Lithnar, but that's a pretty big if at this point. Likewise, this Reaver force completely out of ammo are the Archers, and obviously the melee Reavers are basically out of HP, so we're going to have a hard time actually catching those Gutter Runners and finishing them off, so we'll see. It's definitely anyone's game at this point. The Shadow Warriors are able to just barely mop up these Warp Grinders here. That low melee defense certainly comes in handy. Meanwhile, these Shadow Warriors up here, once the combat stat debuffs wear off, you can see they actually have 36 melee attack, 32 weapon strength. They will be able to get hits, especially considering the low melee attack of all of these Clan Eshin heroes here. Only 35 defense on the Assassin, 40 defense on the Sorcerer. Deathmaster Snitch is obviously much better with 74 with the Slippery active. But even still, the Shadow Warriors are able to get some hits there. Warp Stars connects with the Lithnar and actually knocks him over, which obviously allows the Skaven to catch up a little bit here. I'm going to path over this way. I obviously, forgot that I can move directly through this thing, and I also, I don't want anything disrupting the shot, so I'm going to move a Lithnar kind of towards the obelisk a little bit here, which the angle is not the best, but Sadaud chooses to try and finish off these Shadow Warriors here, which is great for me. Again, the longer I can continue to fight and shoot, and you can see the Storm Riders have also come back as well in a range to keep shooting, so I can keep fulfilling that attacking rule while Lithnar is trying to finish off Snitch. Snitch is almost done, but concealment bombs get popped by everyone. Lithnar finally gets the Deathmaster Sigil himself, and will this be the end for the Shadow King? He shoots over into who knows what for some reason, instead of trying to shoot Skaven assassins that are coming after him, and he's caught. He's properly caught now, which is very, very bad. I need a Lithnar to try and finish off these single entities here for the Skaven. All these little Eshin assassin boys, but they are absolutely relentless. A point-blank shot does connect on the assassin there, and as we kind of zoom up and around the obelisk, you can see the cavalry come in, and a Lithnar actually goes down here. Yep, there he is. Unfortunately, the Shadow King falls, but his forces don't quite rout here. We're barely still online. The High Mage helping to support the leadership with her Encourage aura, and having the anti-infantry damage of the Chariot could be significant. The Snitch actually routs, gets down below 300 HP. The Shadow Warriors getting a handful of hits, and the Reavers getting a handful of hits, down to 275. And here comes the Chariot again. Few Shadow Warriors have stabilized, and oh man, right as he was about to cast that warp stars. He gets hit by the chariot. A few more Shadow Warriors bust through the kind of elven plaza here. Start to surround and engage the Eshin Sorcerer. He's going to get one more warp stars here, which will actually connect and momentarily rout the High Mage here. Unfortunately, it's too much. Snitch is down to 235. He can't recover his leadership at this point, but will the High Elves be able to hold very, very close to critical army losses at this point? Got these Gutter Runners with poison coming in. We do rout the Assassin, so it's all left to the Eshin Sorcerer here. Can he actually beat a couple healthy-ish units of Shadow Walkers? Just beat their leadership, and no, he cannot. He routs, and with a wild swing there and the late game on the balance of power, I barely squeak out a win against the Skaven. And what a wild game, man. It's definitely not a build that it's up my wheelhouse typically. Not at all my standard play style, but I have seen people use similar builds like this in the past against the Skaven, and I do kind of see what they're going for here. I mean, obviously, I made a few mistakes, pretty big mistakes, even with the Phoenix, but you know, I think definitely the Reaver Archers plus the Shadow Warriors, you know, having your max 6 360 shooting units that the tournament rules allow, it's pretty good. And then obviously Melee Reavers, you all know, or you should know by now, that I'm a huge fan of them. Very cost effective at 550 points, and they were able to generate tons of great value, charging down Chaff Infantry, helping to charge the Rat Ogres as well. Obviously, the Reavers cleaned up tons of routing units and used their bows to great effect also. Shadow Warriors' kill totals aren't quite as impressive, but considering they are focusing more high-value targets like the Rat Ogres and such, makes sense. Chariot Mage able to rack up 95 kills at the end of the day between that Fiery Convocation just rolling over Skaven. I am a big fan of the Chariot characters for whatever faction, to be honest. Chariot characters are good against the Skaven, be it, you know, Beastmen, High Elves, even the Dark Elves have some more character chariots now, and especially caster chariots, because, you know, typically your casters aren't great in melee, and especially they aren't great anti-infantry. I mean, obviously they have spells that can be good anti-infantry, but when you add in that chariot component, it just really kind of sets them apart. Especially for quote-unquote squishier casters like the High Elf Mage. But anyway, great game to Sadao. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. It's definitely an awesome one. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.